Good evening. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Clovis City Commission. Commissioners, welcome. City management, department heads, city staff. It's great to see you all, and it's wonderful to see our friends from Cannon Air Force Base joining us this evening. Welcome to everyone. Our meeting is, of course, open to the public with some limitations, but we are also on Suddenlink Channel 10. We're on the city's website, cityofclovis.org, and we're also streaming on Facebook. And welcome input from the public tonight when we reach the communication section in the agenda. But we'll begin tonight's meeting with a word of prayer, and immediately following the prayer, we will go into honoring our flags. And Commissioner Lovett is offering the prayer tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you that we can meet together in this open forum. Lord, there's a good reason why it's the open forum. It's the freedom that we have in our country. And there's a lot to do with that freedom. It's in this room right here tonight, Lord. I thank you for the men and women in uniform who take the battle elsewhere, Lord, to protect the freedom on our land. Lord, I pray that you'll protect them and be with them wherever they are across the world tonight. Lord, I thank you for the blessing of rain that you've given us recently. Lord, I pray that you'll continue to bless us with the moisture. Lord, I thank you that we can meet together and do your business here in the city of Clovis. Lord, I pray that you'll help us with the decisions that we make. May they honor you. And in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Join me in honoring our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag
of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Our meeting is called to order. Ms. Knight, are you going to call the roll for us?
I am.
Thank you for doing that. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lovett?
Here.
Commissioner Madrid?
Here.
Commissioner Casals?
Here.
Commissioner Elliott?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Here.
Commissioner Garza? Commissioner Rowley?
Here.
Commissioner Paula?
Here.
Mayor Morris?
Here. Thank you, Ms. Knight. And Commissioner Garza is joining us by phone. Commissioner Garza, I will do my best not to forget you and ask you for your vote each time.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
All right. Next is approval of tonight's agenda. Commissioners, you've had the chance to review the agenda. Do you recommend rearranging or removing any of the items?
I move for approval.
I second that.
Actually, I'm sorry? Did we have discussion on the agenda? I think there were a couple of items that we were pulling out, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't think, Mayor, I'm sorry, I don't think we're pulling them off. I think we're moving them from consent to other areas.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second for approval, but we're going to discuss this. We need to pull items 2 and 3 from the consent agenda and move them to introduction and adoption of resolutions and ordinances. Is that where we would put those? So, and is there anything else?
Mayor, we want to pull item 7 off consent
Okay.
and put it over to new business.
Okay. So, Commissioner Casals, you made a motion to approve. Would you amend your motion to include those changes? We're moving 2 and 3 out of consent to section 11, and we're moving item 7 out of consent to section 13, new business.
Yes.
Okay. And do we have a second on that motion?
I second that.
And we have a second from Commissioner Garza. Commissioners, please vote. Commissioner Garza, could we have your vote, please?
Second that, but, again, yes.
Thank you. The vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. Our agenda has been approved. Next is approval of minutes. We have the minutes from the Thursday, May 6th, 2021 meeting in your packet. You should have had a chance to review those. Do we have a motion to approve them as they are printed, or are there corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion to approve from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant, second from Commissioner Madrid. Commissioners, please vote. Commissioner Garza, can we have your vote,
Yes.
please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, by a vote of 7 in favor, 1 abstention, the motion is carried. Next in the agenda is recognition of visitors. Again, welcome to our visitors. It is wonderful. Next is proclamations, awards, and presentations. And we have an item planned there this evening, and it is presentation of awards and results for the Great American Cleanup. And Mr. Russell Hooper, our Parks Director, is going to share with us about that. Welcome, Mr. Hooper.
Commissioners, Mayor Tim, Mayor, thank y'all for letting me be here today. I believe, are we running the show as we go? Okay. Make sure y'all know, this is the Great American Cleanup that was held on Saturday, September 8th. And 206 tires turned in during the weekend. So, fall when we had 20, if I'm not mistaken, due to the weather. Obviously, we know who showed up today, Saturday. Winners, if we could. Different teams that going and these are individuals. So we have okay. We have a plaque for each of the teams. We also have some paperwork here that'll show, City of Clovis, New Mexico certificate of appreciation, and these will be the individuals. Responsible citizen. We'll get you signed to that. Congratulations and thank you for your help on that. My second place group was the 27th SOCPTS.
Over here.
I keep waiting for these guys to jump up. And our first place group would be the 27th SOSFS. Are those the guys here? Yes, exactly. And we know the guys that showed up on that Saturday, and we know the people that showed up today, because y'all really did show up. And let me back up just a second. The third place group picked up 50 bags. The second place group picked up 55, and the first place group picked up 61 back trash. They're running out of kids, just doing a heck of a job.
Nice job, thank you.
Nice squeeze in.
Yes, it's awesome.
Ma'am, do you want to get in there with them? I'll take a picture. You should.
And again, we have individual for y'all. I'm not gonna call out names and go through these. Thank y'all very much. Hopefully next year the city of Clovis can provide y'all some competition. Just, obviously the Air Force, yeah, y'all did wonderful.
And you guys can leave if you want to. You don't have to stay.
Thank you.
And Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, I'd just like to thank Commissioner Madrid, Commissioner Rowley, Commissioner Parler for coming out and helping us in the morning, and for all the city staff that were out there too. It was a really nice event, and after what we'd been through last year, it was a big contrast, and we had a lot of fun, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone that helped, and congratulations to these award-winning teams. Appreciate all the help you gave us in cleaning up our city.
Mayor, can I just make a quick comment?
Yes.
Regarding the cleanup, I want to make sure everybody understands out there that landfill is free to Clovis residents. There is no charge at the landfill if you're a Clovis resident. Thank you.
That's great. Great.
You know, Mayor,
Yep.
I'd like to thank all these people for doing their job, a great job out there and picking up trash. But I'd like to thank all the employees that were there helping. There was a lot of employees, and then some of the commissioners, Megan and Lauren and myself, and my partner Chris didn't show up, but he might show up next year. Anyway, thanks a lot.
Thanks for those comments, Commissioner Madrid. And for all of you here from Cannon, in addition to saying thank you for helping with the cleanup and for the tremendous amount of trash that you picked up, we'd like to thank you for your service. And we appreciate you joining our meeting tonight so that we could see you and shake your hand, and thank you for being our neighbor. We appreciate everything you do. Thanks for protecting our freedoms.
Mayor, if I can be
Yes.
so
please.
bold.
Yes.
Also to honor their time commitments as well, if we can let them know that they don't have to stay for our whole meeting, and there's no obligation that you need to be here.
Yeah, after the plaques are handed out, it doesn't always get more fun at our meetings. So, so you are welcome to head out if you like. You're also welcome to stay. Thank you.
Thanks. Go on their own. Thanks, Mike. Nobody here.
All right, commissioners. That does it for awards and presentations. So next we're on to receipts of petitions and communications. I know of at least a couple that we have there this evening. The first is EPCOR 40-year water plan, and we have Mr. Mark Huerta, who is operations supervisor for EPCOR here this evening. Mr. Huerta, it is great to see you. Thank you for joining
Mayor
us.
Pro Tem and Commissioners. I just wanted to come before you tonight and present everyone with a copy of this executive summary of our 40-year water plan. So as the water provider for the city of Clovis, EPCOR carried out a new planning study to document existing water supply and demand conditions and develop capital improvement programs for the future. And so we used a lot of different information to put this study together. With it included information from the City of Clovis comprehensive planning study that you guys did back in 2018, along with our CPS that we recently completed, a water resources plan that we utilized a hydrology consultant out of Albuquerque, John Shoemaker and Associates, to put that together for us, as well as asset condition assessments that we did on our system and facilities. So the study identifies water supply options and recommendations that cover us for the next 5, 20, and 40 years out. Things that we looked at includes the current service area along with annexation areas that were indicated in the Clovis CPS study back in 2018, as well as the Clovis Airport as a potential future service area. And again, we relied on the city CPS for population projections and future land use and projecting water demand for the next 40 years. One of the things that we looked at was current demand as well as water trends, past water trends, and what we found is that water use trends actually dropped about 10 years ago and haven't really changed much since then. They sort of plateaued off and have been consistent. And so we attribute that primarily to conservation efforts, the city really buying into our conservation efforts, doing their part, the citizens and customers, to conserve water, along with the city's reuse program that has taken parks and sports complexes and things like that off of municipal use and put them onto the reuse. So that's been a big help as well. And of course, we looked at our projected sources of future water supplies, which will include new groundwater sources as we expand and look at new lease wells. Also, productivity enhancements to some of our existing and selected wells that we believe we can kind of revamp and get additional sources of supply out of them. Again, expansion of the city reuse system as you guys move into your next phases of that and bring on new customers or end users for the reused water. And then, of course, surface water from the Ute Reservoir. So, and then, of course, the study also outlines water system improvements based on existing and future supply conditions. And really, overall, the plan it's a diversified and thoughtful strategy for ensuring an adequate supply of clean, safe water for the next 5, 20, and 40 years out. So I've provided a few extra copies of this summary to Claire for other stakeholders within the city. And it's available on our website, so any customers or citizens that want to go onto our website, that summary is available there as well for them to look at. And then one final thing is, for about a year and a half, so back last March, EPCOR actually stopped doing service disconnections, late fees, and things of that nature for accounts that were past due. And there was a recent New Mexico PRC decision that those can commence again, actually as early as May. Now we're taking a little bit more conservative approach to it, and we don't plan to start those disconnections again until July 1. We wanted to give our customers ample time to be able to enter into payment arrangements or to get those accounts caught up prior to the start of reconnection or disconnection happening July 1. So we have a lot of direct mailers going out, bill inserts to accounts that are past due, and just giving everyone ample amount of time to work with us. So we will work with anybody who wants to, try to keep their account current and avoid disconnection. So, like I said, it's been a year and a half now, and so it's one of those things that was bound to start back up again, and so we're there. So I just wanted to put that out there. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you for that, Mr. Huerta. So EPCOR has a 40-year plan, and you update that 40-year plan periodically. Is that right? About how frequently do you update it?
We look at it probably about every 2 years. We just recently updated our water resources study. So this is, like I said, kind of a culmination of several different studies that we do as far as water supply and then comprehensive planning, as well as a 10-year look that we have for our capital planning, so as far as project system improvements and things of that nature. So we always keep a 10-year look as far as investment into the system, and then we'll keep updating, usually on about a 2-year cycle, our water resources study to look at what's changed in the aquifer, what's changed in our system, and then readdress it and update it at that time. So it's, overall, we like to say that we're being cautiously optimistic, but of course, this is something that we never let our guard down on, and so we'll continue to look at it and then look at it again, so.
Gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate that. Shifting a bit, you mentioned the conservation efforts that the residents are taking on are noticeable in the daily usage. Can you kind of highlight or at least direct the public to the information related to rebates that are offered? For example, when a homeowner zero-scapes or any type of conservation efforts where your company is actually rewarding the customer.
Absolutely. So, we still have our rebate programs for changing out high-use toilets. So we put in a low-flow toilet, we have rebates available for that. Clothes washers, so replacing an old clothes washer for one that's now water efficient. We have rebates for that. Landscaping rebates, so that is removing turf or things that are high water use and replacing those with gravel, zero-scaping, and things that come off of irrigation and reduce water use. So we have rebates available for that. And then our newest one that we introduced was our water harvesting barrel rebate, and we've already had a few people take advantage of that. And of course, Mr. Lovett said we recently had some rain, and so that's one of our newest rebates that we hope really kind of catches on, where you can go out and purchase a water catchment system, so a barrel, gutter, all of the apparatuses that go along with that, and then there's rebates available to reimburse you for the purchase of that. So all the information on our rebates are available on our website, and I encourage everybody to go in there and look and see if you're doing some remodeling, thinking about changing out some toilets or getting a new clothes washer, changing your landscaping. There's some opportunities available to you. And all the rebates come in a form of a bill credit to your EPCOR bill, so you do have to be an active EPCOR customer to participate in the rebate program.
Got it. Thank you for that, Mr. Huerta. Yes, Commissioner Madrid.
I was gonna ask you, Mark, those barrels or the equipment to harvest water, where do they have them here in Clovis?
That I don't honestly know. I believe Lowe's has them available, if not in store, on their website. And then, of course, gutter and the types of downspouts and the things that you would need, pavers to set it on. I know a few of the folks that have purchased them have gone to other websites and purchased them, and some of them have been fairly elaborate, so the rebate for that I think is up to $500. So, depending on the type of system you buy, it could cover the entire cost of it, or it may just cover a portion of it. But because you can get pretty elaborate with these water catchment systems.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Any other questions for Mr. Huerta? Mr. Huerta, where else in the country are y'all providing water?
So we operate in Arizona, in Texas, and New Mexico. And then, of course, our parent company is in Canada.
Right. Okay, outstanding. Well, Commissioners, I think we are fortunate. I think it was wise when the decision was made to make EPCOR our water utility provider. I think we're fortunate to have such a financially sound, outstanding company providing water for us, and it is reassuring to know that you have a 40-year plan for doing that. And we certainly appreciate everything you do for us, and thank you for being here this evening.
Joey, thank you. We appreciate our continued partnership with the city, and as we look at this 40-year plan, it will continue to look beyond 40 years. So we're in it for the long game, and just appreciate you guys and all your support.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Mark.
I was gonna say, you are gonna stay here for that discussion on the well at Hillcrest, aren't you?
I will, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure will.
Thanks, Mr. Huerta.
Yep.
All right. Also, under receipts of petitions and communications this evening, we have Mr. Spencer Pipkin here with Curry Soil and Water Conservation District, and he wanted to address the commission this evening. Commissioners, I've updated you periodically on the work of the working committee that's exploring and working on forming a land trust that's aim is to do water banking. Mr. Pipkin is part of that committee as well. His organization, Curry Soil and Water Conservation District, is involved in several ways, and I'll let you tell us about that, Mr. Pipkin. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor Morris, fellow commissioners. I represent Central Curry Soil and Water Conservation District. There is one of 43 districts in the state, and we are an entity designed or developed from the state down. In this process, through what we call REPI, which is a Department of Defense funding program, and also working with USDA, which is called the NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service. There was 2 grants applied for in those 2 programs. But in doing that, they needed an eligible entity to be named in head of those 2 grants. Well, Central Curry, we are the eligible entity of that program. We did go through the application. We were awarded those 2 contracts. Right now, we're just a little under $14 million to go out and acquire water rights from adjacent farm areas. Basically, farmers quit irrigating, shut their water off. It's a source of water for the city later on. But and working with Mayor Morris, we established a steering committee which takes Mayor Morris, Steve North, 2 county commissioners, and myself. We're the 5 voting members to set up this legal land trust to operate and run this whole organization. But finding out today, we have to be mentored for the first 10 contracts by an established land trust. So we learned that this morning. I don't know if you knew that, but it's a complicated process. But like I say, we've got 14 million sitting here ready to go to work, but we've got to figure out the best way to spend it, put money on the ground, and not waste money in this project. The NRCS money that's involved in this, we've learned it could be 2 years down the road before we get any money. It takes that long for that process to come through the program. The REPI money from the Department of Defense, it's ready. You know, you could reach in and tap into that money right now. So I don't have a lot of stuff to provide to you. We're pretty young in this right now. Mayor Morris will agree it's a challenge working between city and county and soil and water to get this organized. But I do think it's something that, you know, the city and county, they need to do it for the city for Clovis, everybody around here. It's something that's got to be done. Acquire more water before it's all gone. So I thought I'd at least give you commissioners a little update as we learn more about what's going on. You know, I'd sure come back and provide more information to you. But I think the big responsibility that we get to run our own program here eventually. We don't have somebody come in from somewhere else and try to run that program for this water rights. We can put money straight on the ground, manage it efficiently, and, you know, secure water for future use. I would answer any questions if you have any. I don't know if I can provide enough yet.
Well, appreciate the update. Thanks for being here and sharing that. We may have some questions or comments. I would just mention the idea of water conservation is a good thing, and Cannon Air Force Base, you know, the money that Mr. Pipkin is mentioning that Cannon Air Force Base has applied for and began receiving, it's coming from the Department of Defense, and there's the hope that there would be these matching dollars from the other organizations, but you know, it's important to Cannon that they conserve groundwater around their base. And, you know, and that's the primary, in my opinion, in my view of the work that we're working on, is that primarily Cannon Air Force Base finds it to be important to conserve groundwater around them. And so to that extent, I want to be supportive of them doing that and see how it is that we can help them do that. So thanks for sharing with us. Any questions for Mr. Pipkin?
Well, you know, I said earlier too, you know, Department of Defense, their money's is matching, so they basically came up with, you know, 7 million, but, you know, to be honest, that money could be up to 25, 30 million that you could get access, but it has to be matching money. So, if they kick in more, we gotta go find more to match it, to use it. But, you know, the money's out there, you gotta figure a way to go get it. And hopefully we can do that. I think we do. We have a good group of people. I really appreciate working with Mayor Morris, and, you know, I think we'll get this done. It's just gonna take time. It will. And don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Right. All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Pipkin. Appreciate you being
Thank
here. Next, under communications, I'll call on Building Safety Director, Mr. Darren Roach. He has a announcement / introduction for us this evening.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. Building safety's been going through some changes. We've got some new faces coming in, got a lot of new projects, new things, new ways we're going to do a few things. One of the new faces that you guys are going to see is he was a code enforcement officer. He's worked for the city for almost 2 years. He decided to move over to the zoning administrator after the last one retired. So I would really like to introduce someone who's really on fire and doing a great job. I sent out tons of letters, and he's doing a fantastic job for the city, great job for our department, and you guys are going to start seeing a huge change. You'll definitely see his face around quite a bit. I'd like to introduce Les Chancho. He is from Clovis. He is the new zoning administrator.
Hello, Mr. Chancho. Welcome. Thank you.
I was going to ask you, Mr. Roach, since you left the department, the police department, you know, we haven't gotten an update on any of these shootings or anything that's been happening around town. Can you talk to the chief to assign somebody to do that? Since you were doing it, maybe you have somebody in mind that could do it?
I will ask the chief shortly.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Roach, thank you for that. Hey, commissioners, incidentally, I was talking to Darren the other day and asked about the graffiti program that the ERT division is doing, and he says that they have cleaned up 60 properties to date. 63, must have done 3 more since we talked just the other day.
Yep.
All right, but they're cleaning up graffiti, and that's a service that the city is providing free of charge. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. And for commercial property owners, obviously residential, the same. And, you know, if you've got graffiti, get it reported. The city has a program to cover it up. So I just wanted to mention that and say thanks for the work that you're doing in that area as well.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Gonzalez.
speaking about graffiti, I was at a meeting yesterday, and this citizen approached me, and she appreciated the graffiti cover-up in her building, but she said, now I have big brown spots. Can we try to at least try to match the color of the buildings, or is that not? I know that's a lot to ask for, but if we're going to paint graffiti, let's not make it worse.
Well, we're trying with what we have. That we don't have. We got some paint donated. We don't have a ton of color choices, but we try to get as close as we can. If it's a gray building, it's going to be as gray as we can get.
Right.
So if it's a brown building, we got tan.
Okay. I think she's probably going to have it painted herself, because, I mean, she appreciated the cover-up, but she did send me some pictures, and I was gonna forward them to you. But if there's not much we can do about it, I guess you won't do much with them.
Well, and I think a property owner would appreciate the free service that the city is offering, and, you know, if they're interested in an exact color match, of course they can.
And if the property owner supplies the paint, we will use their paint.
Okay, so
I'll
we can
pass that
provide the
along.
labor. Yeah,
Thank you.
very good. All right, we are still in receipt of petitions and communications, and it's in this section of the agenda that we would hear from anyone from the public that has anything to share with the commission. Mr. Valandry.
How you guys doing?
Good. Before you get going, Mr. Valandry, I just wanted to point out that we want to hear anything that you have to say. We won't necessarily, we wouldn't be able to take action on it this evening. And I need you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay. Robert M. Valandry, 2200 Country Meadows is where I live, but I have Bob has it, 417 North Main in Clovis. And the reason I'm here is parking. I made some parking signs. Bandolero Brewery was good with it. Actually, he's the one that suggested that I just make some parking signs so that his customers didn't take everything in the front. So I had 5 made. I only used 3. Well, I used 4 the first day. And then Mr. Roach came out, told me I couldn't put them out. So, but it said reserved. Bullet Bob has it, parking, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5 is what it had on it. So Tuesday, I covered up reserved. I covered up only, and I put the signs out, and they were good Tuesday. What's today? Thursday? Thursday. They were good Tuesday, and then yesterday, code enforcement came in. I don't know who it was, but came in and said that I can't put my signs out. I have a lot of elderly customers, and they're not going to walk 2 or 3 blocks, and they're not all necessarily handicapped. The signs are really more of a suggestion. I'm not going to kick somebody out because they park there and walk into the brewery. But it helps for me because I have customers, especially on Thursdays and Fridays. They're closed on Friday, so it doesn't affect them as much, but I'm sure that on Thursdays they notice parking is a bear because their business is right across the street from me. And now we have a Hispanic grocery store coming in right across the street where Two Shabby Divas is. The Red Door is going to be open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then the Bandolero Brewery. The parking on Main Street for small businesses is tough. I mean, Penny Lane, Serendipity, the new garage guy that's going to have that garage door over there on 4th and Main. It doesn't go too much past 4th, but from 4th, 5th, and 6th, no matter which side of the block, it's hard to park. I did put my signs out today, but I waited till about 11, right before his lunch got real busy, and I had a couple people would pull in, they backed out and parked somewhere else. And then I had one older lady that just parked there and walked into Bandolero to meet her family. No problems with that at all. But I feel as a business owner and a taxpayer and everything like that, that I should have at least a couple spots for my customers. I know it's public parking, but I just think all of us, Penny Lane, myself, the places across the street, because not only do we have those on between 4th and 5th, also between 5th and 6th, you're going to have the brewery at Portales. They're going to open up, you know, and they're going to have lunch and dinner also. And I know there is some parking on Mitchell and stuff, but there's no signage whatsoever anywhere on Main that there's additional parking for those that, you know, would like to walk that far or something like that. And then when my customers come in too, if they buy furniture or something, you know, if I have to go a block and a half to deliver it to their car, it's just kind of a pain. And it's not just me. I mean, there's other companies on Main Street that are going to suffer the same.
and are suffering the same right now. And, I mean, I don't see what the problem is with my little sign. It's more of a suggestion. And so, this is funny, but you may not find it funny. So today, I put prices on my signs. So I put them out front and I put a price on them. So that way, if the city came in, I was going to say, well, they're for sale, you know. But I'm just trying anything so that I have a little bit of parking for my customers. I could probably get away with just 2. I put them out about 10:30 to 11. I bring them in before 5 o'clock. I close at 5 and I bring them in before 5. And then that way his evening crew, they can all park over there and it doesn't affect that much, you know, because I'm getting ready to close anyway, so it's not a big a deal. But the big deal is lunch for me and then early in the afternoon, especially on Friday. Saturdays, it's never the same. So I just don't know what I need to do. I'm going to keep putting my signs out for now. It doesn't say reserved, they're for sale, and I got to have parking for my customers. It's not just for the breweries and that. I mean, the food is great there. The beer's good. I'm not a big beer drinker, and Andy does not have a problem with it. Like I said, he's the one that owns Bandolero, and he actually suggested it because he noticed that. I mean, tomorrow at lunchtime, there will be no parking there if I don't have my signs up. That's all I got.
Well, appreciate you bringing that. Appreciate any citizen bringing concerns before us. We can take that under advisement. As I attempt to empathize with you, I can't help.
No, I understand.
I can't help but think how what you're describing is a side effect of our downtown area actually really starting to boom.
Oh, yeah,
and I think that's exciting.
It is.
And as it does grow, and as you know, we're bringing more and more people downtown during the day and in the evening, for, you know, all hours to do business with local business owners.
Yep.
We're gonna more and more increasingly lose that expectation that we're going to be able to park in front of the business that we're there to do business with. I've been downtown several times lately to Bandolero and to other places, and I haven't been able to park anywhere near it.
Yep.
But I just grin ear to ear at all the business that's going on downtown, you know, and so.
And it helps my business to an extent because it brings new people into town. And, you know, they go there and then they see, well, of course, right now where that guy tried to make a drive-through is kind of boarded up right now, but the glass is supposedly in now. And I get it fixed, but they used to look in my showroom and stuff and pick stuff. But my main thing is, I mean, like I said, even if I can just have 2 or something for, and it doesn't even have to be my customers. It's just, I put the signs out and, you know, they can go to Penny Lane or whatever because I know it affects her too. You know, all of the antique stores right in that area are going to be affected.
Well, we hear
I mean,
you.
I don't know I don't know how you put something in or whatever, you know, but if you're going to have additional parking, we need signs for that so that people know there's additional parking so they don't have to park right in front all the time.
We can think of a way to communicate that out. There is additional parking around downtown, you know,
I
blocked
know there's
off
some on
and-
Mitchell, there's
yeah.
some on Gidding.
And we're
Double.
actually, there's I believe it's 6th and Mitchell. Is that right? That the county is planning to do a new parking area and kind of a green space, sort of like just north of where we're sitting this evening, and the city as well across the street from that. And so,
Right.
you know, there's some projects underway that will help provide parking in downtown. But I still think that as our downtown area is growing, we're gonna lose the idea that we get to park right in front of the business that
Right.
we're there to do business with.
Right.
That, you know, but I appreciate your comments.
Well, the only other thing is on your website thing for parking. Now, I couldn't get it to go anywhere into the public parking place, but on the thing, it says that you're allowed 5.4 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of showroom. And, I mean, I don't need 35 parking spaces. But that's on the general part of it. I don't know if that has anything to do with in the city or what, but if you look on your website and it says something about parking and it says you have 5.4 parking places, I don't know where you guys get the .4, but it's 5.4 parking places per 1,000 square feet of showroom or sales floor, whatever they call it. And I just want 2 or 3 for my customers.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Well, those, Bob,
Sorry.
sorry, Mr. Valandri.
No, it's all good.
Don't run off yet. What you just talked about, is it 5.4 per and all of that is way above my pay grade, but I noticed that the city attorney may have a comment about that.
So, thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. I think Mr. Valandri is talking about Chapter 17 of the UDO, which is the only chapter that addresses parking, and it actually dictates what a business has to have on their own private property. In other words, how much parking they have to build in a private parking lot on their own property.
I didn't say anything about private property, but that's possible.
Yeah, so the title of the section in the chapter is off-street parking, so it only applies to parking on private property.
Okay, yeah, because I'm off-street parking for sure. Unless I make my drive-through real. So,
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant has a comment.
A couple of things. You know, I'm really excited that our downtown is starting to thrive and we're starting to see a lot of traffic down there. I think that is a definite plus for you,
yes, it is.
you know, to have more traffic. And people that go into Bandolero hopefully will come out and possibly go into your place as well. But I think the problem comes in at where we're allowing you to have signs that says parking for Bullet Bob's. If we allow that, then we have to allow every business owner on Main Street to do the same thing, which could cause a problem. So I think that's where the problem exists.
Say, I mean, I kind of see where you're coming from, but I think that Penny Lane would do it. I think that Junk Teak would do it. I mean, I think they would all buy their own signs if we, you know, like I did. I just bought them because of, you know, but the breweries, they don't care. Their customers can walk a half a block or 2.5 blocks or whatever, you know, walk off their food and their beer before they get in their car or whatever. But my customers, Penny Lane's customers, Exhibit A, Crafters Mall, Junk Teak, their customers, they're coming in to buy something and carry it out, whether it be furniture, small's no big deal, but furniture or something cast iron or whatever. I think that each business on Main Street should be allotted at least a couple, and that's all I want is a couple. I mean, there's me, the Lyceum Theater, which is closed, so that leaves that to open parking according to the thing, and Serendipity, you know, and when the brewery's there, there's no, they're not gonna go in, you know? Right. And I think that because we are taxpayers, we pay for the roads, we pay our gross receipts, you know, we got property and businesses in Clovis bringing money and people in. I think we should have maybe, even if it's just 2, so that we could have a couple customers come in during lunch or dinner, you know? I don't see where that would be a big problem with any of them, you know? I think the only people that would complain would be, I don't know who would complain unless somebody wanted to get into the brewery and they didn't want to have to walk half a block, you know, or one of the breweries or the grocery store that's going to open up at Chevy Divas.
Well, the only problem with the brewery, it's not that there is a parking problem all day long.
No, it's not.
It's really at lunch, and then, of course, by dinner, you're closed.
Yep, and that's why I say my signs even just say from 9 to 5. And I don't even put my signs out till 10 or 11, and then I take them in around 4:30, 4:45, unless I'm busy, and then I take them in as soon as I can.
Okay, as the mayor says, we are working on some possibilities of some public parking elsewhere. So, you know, hopefully that will help the situation out, and, you know.
Yep.
But like I said, the traffic downtown is great to see.
Oh, it is. I mean, and I don't mean that to anybody. I'd like to see more businesses and even more antique junk stores. Business is good for everybody on Main Street. Even though you might have some, oh man, now they're going to take business away from me. It doesn't work that way. Competition is good for everybody.
Exactly.
But I still think that each business should have at least a couple. You know, like the brewery, he's got the whole side. He doesn't need a couple necessarily for him. Same with the one across the street, but, you know, the Portales at Roosevelt, he's gonna have a hard time. Well, not in the evening, though. In the evenings when they're generally busy, it's not gonna be so bad. But the one who suffers is Junk Teak, Penny Lane, myself, the places across the street from Penny Lane, the Spanish store across the street from mine if he ever opens again, and Serendipity. We're the ones that pay during the lunch and early evening people. You know, I mean, we might get a little extra customers, but we lose customers that were gonna come in and buy during that time because they're at the brewery.
Right. Commissioner Elliott, you have a comment?
And the parking is definitely a problem, and you know how I feel about some of these businesses out on Main Street. We needed to look at what are we gonna do with, and I mentioned this, you know, the old Levine's building, the guy that's put in a wonderful brewery there with the food and everything, and I hear the food's wonderful, and then the one from Portales, it's the old Sutton's building. Okay, I mentioned many times, Peter, the pastor of the Potter House, has been there 37 years, okay? And there's not gonna be any parking for him, and we mentioned this, or I mentioned this, whenever the one at Levine's building was gonna be in, because we have to give him a waiver because of serving alcohol next to a church. But that's gonna be another problem. The city of Clovis really needs to look at when we're renewing the businesses that's closed up on Main Street. We need to figure out where to park these cars. Now, we've talked about, and we had some meetings at the city county luncheon the other day about new parking, you know, and the county will have one that's back east on Mitchell Street, and we'll have one there. But there needs to be more, because they're going to be, whenever Peter's having his services as a church, they have revivals all the time, he's going to need parking. You need parking. There needs to be some thought whenever you bring these businesses in, where are you going to park them?
Yep.
Just like years ago, whenever we would build a road, then we thought, oh, we should have put some drainage in that road. So we go in there and tear it up and put drainage in it. You know, we need to be paying attention to where we're going to park these cars. I mean, I think it's wonderful that Main Street's doing good, but, you know, just like you, I drive down and I see the Bandolero. I mean, it's wonderful. It's beautiful inside, I can see. I haven't been in there.
Oh, it's good.
But I think it's great. But we need to do something about parking and supplying more parking. And that's going to be pretty close back there on Mitchell. That'll help, but that needs to be done.
The Potter House, I think they only do Wednesday nights, or primarily they just do Wednesday nights. So, you know, because they were just, when I was on my way here, they had their people coming in, but they have everything on the other side of 4th on both sides that are usually not full.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, most of Main Street, not so much Wednesdays, but Friday and Saturday, or Thursday, I guess is tonight. Friday and Saturday, though, I mean, if you drive by Main Street at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, it's a bear to park.
I think we need to figure some way that we can help people like Bob and Penny Lane and those with some way to let people park in front of their building. And I mean, if it's, you know, I mean, building safety and enforcement and everything has got rules, but let's see if we can't make some way to change that to where at least they can have some of the old stuff. Because I know a lot of people, that's one of their things. They go down
and that's usually
Bob's got.
I tell you what, I suggest, one, my opinion is we're talking about public parking. And all of the businesses up and down that street are benefiting or competing for that public parking, however you look at it. It's public parking. And that being what it is, I sympathize and I hear what Mr. Valandri's talking about. Your points are well taken, Commissioner Elliott. I suggest that we have the Public Works Committee look at that and discuss it. And we appreciate you bringing this before us and challenging us to think about it. And
you know, it's what I do sometimes.
we do appreciate that. You're a good citizen, Bullet Bob.
I try hard. All right, thank you,
Have
guys.
a good
Mr. Landry, I just have to say, this is a great problem to have.
It is, like I said, but the only problem is, the mayor said, it's public parking, not just Bandolero parking. And there's other businesses on Main Street that deserve and have the right for their public parking.
Well, we'll take this to our Public Works Committee and we'll discuss it.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
See y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor, one other thing, you know, we're always looking at something to go in on Main Street. Okay, there's probably some buildings there that'll never be occupied. Is there a possibility of making parking where those buildings are at? I mean, that's, right on Main Street. I mean, a nice parking lot, look at where, right next door to where we're at. Is that not better looking than what those buildings was there? So,
Can't
that's
can't
something
disagree with
Public
that.
Works might look at. Main Street.
Thank you.
Deal.
Thanks. All right, we are still in receipts of petitions and communications. Is there anyone else here this evening wishing to bring something before the commission? Seeing none, commissioners, let's move on to our consent agenda. Keep in mind, we moved 3 items out of the consent agenda earlier, so as you look that over, item 2 or item 4 is now 2, item 5 is now 3, and so on, and so we have 10 items there. And this item is placed on the agenda so the commission, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine agenda items that they wish to be approved or acknowledged by one motion if any proposal does not meet with the approval of all commission members, or if a citizen so requests. That item will be heard when reached under the regular agenda. Item 1 is the motion to place. I'll begin reading with item 2, and it is request for approval of adoption of ordinance number 2146-2021, zone change from an RS 170 ranchette to a RS 7 single family olive branch subdivision. Item 3, request for approval of adoption of ordinance number 2147-2021, zone changing an RS single family to a RS 7 C1 carport, 1125 Hondo. Item 4, request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3064-2021, preliminary plat for the Olive Branch subdivision. Item 5, request for approval of lodger's tax quarterly disbursements for May 2021. Item 6, request for approval of appointment of citizens to serve on the 2021 Charter Review Committee. Item 7, request for approval to apply for and accept, if awarded, an NMDOT grant for airport equipment building. Item 8, request for approval to apply for and accept, if awarded, an NMDOT grant to remark the airport. Item 9, request for approval for overnight dry camping at Nedhout Park for bow range. Nedhout Park bow range for the Clovis 100 Jamboree. Unless, commissioners, you have an issue with any of the items, I would entertain a motion to place the indicated items on the consent agenda by unanimous vote.
I make a motion, we go ahead and place it.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Madrid, second from Commissioner Garza. Commissioners, please vote. And by a vote of 8-0, the vote is unanimous, the motion's carried. And now I would entertain a motion to approve or acknowledge all items on the consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Lovett. Second from Commissioner Elliott. Commissioners, please vote. Commissioner Garza, can we have your vote, please?
That's a yes.
Thank you. And the vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. The consent agenda has been approved. Next is Introduction and adoption of resolutions and ordinances. We originally had one item there this evening. We now have three. The first is request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3059-2021, an agreement of City of Clovis approving participation in the programs of the Eastern Plains Council of Governments for fiscal year 2021, 2022, and appointing a designated representative and alternate. Ms. Burrows.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. This is the annual resolution for the Eastern Plains Council of Governments and the work that they do for the City of Clovis, which is many and varied. They've been a great help and are continuing to be a great help with the Community Development Block Grant funding for the city for the Hillcrest Senior Centre. And I've asked Sandy Chansey, who's their executive director, and Vincent Soul, who's their vice director, assistant director, to come in and just give an overview of the work that they do. I know some of you are new here and may not know what they do for the city of Clovis, and I believe you have a presentation, is that right?
We do.
Appreciate
Thank you
that,
very
Ms.
much.
Burrows. Welcome, Ms. Chansey, Mr. Stoll. Great to have you here this evening. The floor is yours.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is a very brief overview of some of the work that we've done over the last year. Next slide, please. As you can see from the map, there are 7 planning and development districts in New Mexico. We are Planning and Development District 4. We cover 7 counties: Union, Harding, Coy, Guadalupe, DeBaca, Curry, and Roosevelt. Next slide, please. Some of the services we provide are economic development. We are a federally funded economic development district, designated and funded by the Economic Development Administration. Transportation planning, project development assistance, strategic and comprehensive planning assistance, and policy, procedure, and special projects and technical assistance. Regional planning, we do a lot of different kinds of regional planning. Metropolitan development area planning, comprehensive plans, planning with special emphasis on water issues. We've served as the administrative and fiscal agent for the Ute Water Commission for many years. We assisted in the development of Clovis's Master Water Assurance Plan a few years ago. We also participate in statewide planning processes like the New Mexico Renewable Energy Roadmap, statewide transportation plan. We've participated in statewide economic development planning, statewide water planning. You name it, we're up for it. So, next slide, please. Economic development. As I said, we are a federal recognized economic development planning district. We are funded as such by the USDA to facilitate regional economic development. Under that contract, every 5 years, we are tasked with compiling a comprehensive economic development strategy. We do update that document annually, but we're required every 5 years to completely overhaul the entire plan. Our next plan is due in 2022, so we'll be beginning work on that. We have also received some supplemental funding from the CARES Act through EDA, and what they have asked us to do for that is develop a regional economic recovery plan. And we've contracted with KW Consulting. Many of you know Mr. Jason Espinoza, who's the principal of that company, and Dr. Robert Hagevort from New Mexico State University to develop that plan. We brought Dr. Hagevort in because we do have such a large agricultural component to our economy. We felt it was very important to give specific focus to that sector. So Dr. Hagevort is working on that portion of the plan. We are also fortunate to have been awarded by EDA a AmeriCorps Vista position. EDA applies to AmeriCorps for a certain number of positions every year, and we're in the process of accepting applications for that, and we will be they're volunteers, so they get a stipend from the AmeriCorps program. They won't necessarily be an employee of EPCOG, but they'll be housed in our office, and they will be working with us on the development of that recovery plan, the update of our comprehensive economic development strategy, as well as in the following year, the implementation of our recovery plan. We've also used a portion of this funding for the job fair that we co-hosted with the Chamber last week at the Civic Center. We put that one together pretty quickly. We ended up with 48 employers, and 440 job seekers came through that door. Normally when we do a job fair, we see a rush at the beginning and then a rush in the middle and then kind of rush at the end. There was no lull on Wednesday for that job fair. It was constant. The Chamber is right now in the process of surveying those employers to see how many hires they've had and how many potential hires they're looking at. We've only had about 24 responses to those surveys so far, and so far I believe we're anticipating 138 people to be hired from that job fair. So we think it was the most successful job fair we've ever had.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably put the least amount of effort and promotion and advertising into that we've done of any job fair, and we had the biggest response. So we have employers that are hiring. We have people that want to work. It's just about making those connections. And we also collaborate with the New Mexico Economic Development Department and all of our regional local economic development organizations to support local economic development activities. We have a very varied region, obviously, as far as population bases and industry. So sometimes we have to get creative, especially in our very rural communities. We're an active member of the International Economic Development Council and the New Mexico Industrial Developers Association. We stay active in those organizations. And we do our best to promote economic development throughout the region. Next slide, please. Transportation planning. We are tasked by the New Mexico Department of Transportation to co-facilitate both the Northeast and the Southeast transportation planning organizations. Those organizations, when there's transportation funding available, as there is now with the Transportation Project Fund and then the Local Government Road Fund, those communities submit those applications to us as their planners. It's put before those organizations, it's rated and ranked, and then submitted to the districts for possible funding. So we play a key role in helping our communities get their applications together, making sure all the information is there, so that the district can put it into consideration for funding. And for the larger projects, they will end up on the statewide transportation improvement plan, what we call the STIP. We also have to rate and rank public transit funding applications annually. We provide assistance with functional classifications of roads. Now that is very important for funding because certain classifications of roads are eligible for different types of funding. Of course, you know, there's a tiered system that the Department of Transportation uses. Tier 1 roads are interstates. Tier 2 roads are federal highways. Tier 3 roads are everything else. So we want to do our best to make sure that each road is properly classified for the type of traffic that it receives, so that when those funding opportunities come around, those roads would be eligible for funding. And of course, we monitor all of the planned and ongoing transportation projects throughout the region. Next slide. Community development and technical assistance. We assist in identifying funding sources for various projects, preparing grant applications, and technical assistance in project implementation. Community development block grant is a big one, and that's something that the application process is open for now. We wrote the grant for the city of Clovis last year, and they were awarded $750,000 for the construction of the new Hillcrest Senior Center. And that is ongoing. And Kelsey and I are working through some of that paperwork together. So those projects are a marathon, not a sprint, so don't panic if you don't see construction going on that side immediately. It's going to take a while, but it's going to get done, and I believe all the funding is now in line to get that facility built. We also provide assistance with legislative capital outlay requests. I didn't have an exact number on how many of those requests we prepared this last year. I believe it was a little bit down from the year before, but we assist with that process. We also assist in the development of the infrastructure and capital improvement plan process. That's very important now for legislative capital outlay funding. Every year, the state wants the communities to create a list of their capital improvement projects that they plan to complete in the next 5 years and identify potential funding sources for those projects. So we assist with that. That will be due again in September, and Kelsey and I will be working on that. And then, of course, grant writing and assistance. We've written a grant for Clovis for CDBG. We're also assisting several other communities. I'll be assisting Curry County with their application for 2021. We also assist with brownfield projects and other community development activities as needed. Brownfields is a program funded by the EPA for doing assessment and potential cleanup on any facility that, or land that could be contaminated by any sort of environmental contaminant. So when we're talking about particularly our older buildings on Main Street, as you were just discussing, most of those at the very least contain asbestos and lead-based paint. And that's got to be remediated before anything can be done with that building. So the Brownfields program can provide assistance with that. Next slide, please. Some of our special projects, we're wrapping up an economic impact study for the Department of Transportation for Union County for the possibility of an interstate being designated through that county. We've talked about the job fair. We help a lot of our smaller communities with procurement. Census planning, we did a lot of work with the census. Data analysis, policy advisement, and then the city was this past spring a recipient of some special money to assist residents with rent and utilities. And we helped the city out by facilitating the application intake process for that. Next slide, please. Administration, our annual budget this year was approximately $582,000. We got a big boost from EDA on that one. Our 2020 audit is complete. We had an unmodified opinion with no findings. We continue to outsource our accounting to FWB Accounting here in Clovis. And we did some organizational restructuring this year. Vincent has been promoted to Deputy Director. He provides a tremendous amount of help to me. Raul Rodriguez III was hired as a full-time regional planner. He's stepped in and taken a lot of the transportation planning duties that Vincent previously handled. Mr. Raymond Mondragon has decided that he wants to begin to phasing into retirement, and so he's dropped down to part-time. His title now is governmental specialist, and he does a lot of technical assistance, particularly with our smaller governments on just governance questions. You know, how do I do this? Can I do that? Why can't I do this? He fields a lot of those questions every day. So he's a great asset because he has so much experience in municipal government. And we've hired Jaya Courtney, and she is a part-time grant writing and grant administration assistant. So that also helps take some of the load off of the rest of us. And that brings us, we still have Mary Gray, our trusty and faithful executive assistant, and that brings us to a staff of 6. And I'll be happy to stand for any questions.
Well, great. Well, thank you, Ms. Chansey. Appreciate that. Do we have questions?
I do have one. You were talking about some of the businesses on Main, and not just on Main, but throughout the community that deal with asbestos and the Brownfield project. How does that actually work?
Well, it's kind of complicated. That's the program we used for the Hotel Clovis. Again, those projects are a marathon. They are not a sprint. We were notified by Lisa Pellegrino Spear that we do have someone interested in purchasing a building on Main Street that has some contamination issues. So the first thing I do is reach out to the New Mexico Voluntary Remediation Program at the Environment Department. And then Kansas State University is the technical assistance to brownfields provider for our region of EPA. So the first thing I do is I reach out to those folks and say, okay, what's the first step that we need to take here? There is a time limit. If someone wants to acquire a property like that, we have a certain period of time to apply to those programs so that they can do the assessments at no cost to the property owner or the potential purchaser. And then we take it from there. Just depends on what's needed.
Okay, thank you. I know there's many older businesses that, not only have asbestos, but lead-based paint as well.
Yes.
So, that's a good service.
And some of them, we've, like we discovered in the hotel project, petroleum contaminants. If you have had a boiler or anything like that, then you have petroleum contaminants where that was. So it's a great program to help us get some of these old buildings rehabilitated and back into functional use.
Great. Thank you.
And our whole entire region is full of them.
Yes.
Other questions or comments?
And so, Mayor, the other part of the discussion this evening is the appointment of a representative from the City Commission. Commissioner Madrid, I believe, is currently serving as the representative and is also the chair.
He's also our board chair.
Yeah, and has been, and then Commissioner Casas is the alternate. So, if you could appoint a representative and alternate as well, please. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we could have discussion about appointing a representative and an alternate, but I suppose we could begin that discussion by asking Commissioner Madrid, are you willing to continue?
I'm willing to continue.
You would like to continue?
I would like to continue.
Commissioner Casas, you're serving as the
alternate.
You'll continue? Does anyone else have a strong feeling about being our representative or alternate?
I'll make a motion to appoint Commissioner Madrid as our representative and Commissioner Casals as our alternate.
I second that.
And your motion is also for approval
Oh, yes.
of the resolution?
The resolution and the agreement with Eastern Plains Council of Governments.
Okay. All right. We have a motion to approve from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant and a second from Commissioner Garza. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Chansey.
Thank you for your
Thanks, Mr.
support
Zoll.
and look forward to our continued partnership.
Yes, ma'am. We look forward to it as well. Thanks. All right, Commissioners, I know you've been waiting all night for me to read this one. We've got number 2 under this section of the agenda, and it is request for approval of introduction of an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement and intercept agreement by and between the City of Clovis, New Mexico, the governmental unit, and the New Mexico Finance Authority, evidencing a special limited obligation to the governmental unit to pay a principal amount of $3,250,000 together with interest thereon for the purpose of financing 1, acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, resurfacing, maintaining, repairing, or otherwise improving municipal streets, including storm drainage and sanitary sewer projects directly related to the street project, or any combination of the foregoing. 2, paying a loan processing fee, and 3, funding a loan agreement reserve account, providing for the payment of the principal and interest due under the loan agreement solely from the distributions of the revenues received by the governmental unit pursuant to Section 7-1-6.4 NMSA 1978, the state shared gross receipts tax, providing for the distributions of the revenues of the state shared gross receipts tax from the state taxation and revenue department to be redirected to the finance authority or its assigns pursuant to the intercept agreement for the payment of principal and interest due on the loan agreement, ratifying actions heretofore taken, repealing all action inconsistent with this ordinance, and authorizing the taking of other actions in connection with the execution and delivery of the loan agreement and the intercept agreement.
Mayor, I didn't quite get that. Can you read that again?
I'll just run through it one more time, just to make sure we've got it. Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. Ms. Burrows.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. We are joined this evening by Mr. Eric Harrigan, who is the Managing Director with RBC Capital Markets. Eric's worked with us for many years and on our bond cycle. And then we also have Daniel Alsop with the Modrell Sterling Law Firm, who is bond counsel for the City of Clovis. And I would defer to them. And in front of you, you have a PowerPoint presentation from Eric as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Burrows. Welcome, Mr. Harrigan and Mr. Alsop. We appreciate you joining us this evening to share with us on this item, and the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Chairman and members of the Commission. Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. I'll try to keep my comments fairly brief. As mentioned, there is a presentation before you. I'll refer to it as by page number. On page 1 of the presentation, on the GRT Road Finance Plan overview on the title. So this street cycling program was originally started back in 2012. The city dedicates $1.5 million towards the repayment of this debt, and the debt service declines. Is structured to decline every 3 years, so that the city can continue to issue additional bonds and to continue to maintain that $1.5 million annual debt service. The size of the debt offerings are limited by the revenue constraint, and since 2012, the city has issued a little over $18 million for road projects. The city does pledge a state share gross receipts tax to the repayment of this debt, and for the upcoming cycle, the amount is projected at $3.5 million. The next cycle in 2024 is also projected at $3.5 million. On page 2 of the presentation, it just sort of provides the detail of the cycling program. Again, as mentioned, the first series was done in 2012, second in 2015, third in 2018. This will be the fourth series, and you can see how the debt service declines to allow for future debt issuances. On page 3 of the presentation, on the bond sale time schedule, subject to the first reading is tonight. This would go before the New Mexico Finance Authority at their May 27th board meeting. We would set interest rates in early June, around June 7th, and then come back to the City Commission for the second reading and approval of the loan ordinance. Once the pricing occurs on June 7th, the interest rates will be locked and they will be fixed for the term of the financing. And then after approval, the loan is expected to close around July 29th to July 30th, and that's when funds will be available for the city to expend on the road projects. On page 4 of the presentation, in addition to the cycling program, the city does have some other bonds that are payable from state share gross receipts tax. We've laid those out for you on there. You might recall last year the city refinanced a couple of its state share gross receipts tax bonds for interest rate savings. I have a couple of slides on the market. I won't go through them. I just want to kind of note that interest rates hit an all-time low last year in August because of the pandemic. They have ticked up a little bit since that point in time, but if you do look at where interest rates are, even from a year ago and going back 10 years, rates are still very, very low compared to where they have been historically. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions regarding the financing. And if there aren't any, I can turn it over to Daniel Alsop with the Modrell Law Firm to answer any questions regarding the document that's in front of you.
Thanks for that, Mr. Harrigan. Let me check to see if we have questions for you. And we do not.
So Daniel, I don't know if you wanna, if you have any comments that you would like to make.
Daniel's asleep.
Mr. Alsop, do we have you there?
Maybe he's not there. I think he's dropped off.
I think he's dropped off. Yeah, Mr. Harrigan, it looks like maybe he has left the meeting for one reason or another.
Okay, no problem. I'll just mention that, you know, the documents that are before you, this is consistent with the, ordinance reading process and the pledge that was, it has been approved by the city back in 2012, 2015, and 2018 for the cycling program. And, I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Appreciate that. Commissioners, as you see in the packet, the last street bond cycle paid for the phase of East 7th Street improvements between Norris and Maple. These funds would be used to help pay for the next phase of East 7th Street project between Maple and Main Street. Kind of get an idea of what you know, what specifically we could see our city doing with this. So, do we have any discussion, comments, questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we go ahead and approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Madrid.
Second.
I'll second that.
Second from Commissioner Lovett. Commissioners, please vote. Commissioner Garza, if we can have your vote officially, please.
That's a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
And it is unanimous, and the motion is carried. Next item under this section is request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3063-2021, authorizing and approving submission of a completed application for financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, resurfacing, maintaining, repairing, or otherwise improving municipal streets, including storm drainage and sanitary sewer projects directly related to a street project or any combination foregoing. Ms. Burrows.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. The resolution before you is in relation to the previous ordinance, and the ordinance will be brought to you for final action at the second meeting, June the 17th. But this resolution is needed to approve submission of an application to the New Mexico Finance Authority in relation to the refinancing of the municipal street bond. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Casals and a second from Commissioner Madrid. Commissioners, please vote. Commissioner Garza, may I have your vote, please?
That's a yes.
Thank you. And the vote is 8-0, and the motion is carried. Thank you. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Hannigan, for being on this evening. Appreciate you joining us and providing that information.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You as well. Commissioners, we have nothing to deal with I'm sorry, did you?
I was gonna say, Mayor, on the next, on new business, I'd like to have, this number 7, request for approval, Hillcrest Well, first before the request for approval will apply for the one that's there now. I'd like to go number 1 for that.
We can do that, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
With nothing to deal with under unfinished business, we're on to new business, and the first item there this evening is request for approval of Hillcrest Well Water Leasing Agreement with Epcor Water. And Ms. Burrows, can you advise
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. And we are also joined by Mr. Huerta here this evening. EPCOR has been talking with the City of Clovis about entering into this lease agreement for a well at the Hillcrest Park. Do you all know where the well is that we're talking about? It's, so you know where the CYSA soccer fields are? There's a sort of a green fenced area there. That's the well that's in question. The well last produced about 350 to 400 gallons per minute, and so EPCOR is interested in leasing this from the City of Clovis. Based on the agreement, the annual minimum purchase amount would result in a payment of approximately $74,000 at that 400 gallons per minute. The city would incur costs to upgrade the well from an irrigation well to a potable well, which would be about $110,000. And so we're before you this evening for a 10-year lease agreement with EPCOR for this well. Thank you. Stand for any questions.
Thank you for that, Ms. Burrows.
Oh,
So-
and
I'm sorry?
there's just one more thing. I believe that Mr. Howald and Mr. Huerta have been speaking about, I mean, we have other wells that are around the city in parks that we lease to EPCOR, and I know there's been some concern about how they appear, and they're working on having a nice appearing enclosed area. Thank you.
You know, that's the main reason I wanted it pulled, because of the appearance. You know, if we're gonna have wells at our parks, they need to look better than what they're looking at now. They're not, especially Green Acres and Chavez Park. Those wells are right there in the middle of the deal, and that chain link fence does not look good. That's why I pulled it. It's not so much that I don't mind giving or providing water to EPCOR, but you know, it doesn't look good at the parks with all that chain link fences. And I understand that they need security, you know, but I think they need to do a little better job on that, on making them look presentable. That's what I wanted to pull.
And thank you, Commissioner. We'll be happy to work together to try and resolve that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
It's been going on for a lot of years.
Yeah, and just to respond to that, you know, in the wells that we're talking about now within Hillcrest Park, as these being newly developed wells, you know, we would certainly look at how we enclose those and fence those off, so we can do those with a decorative type brick or something that is more aesthetically pleasing, as long as it meets our minimum security requirements, which I believe is 6 foot tall. You know, so there's some things that we can do, certainly with these wells, as we talk about entering into a lease agreement with the city. And then, you know, in response to the wells around Green Acres, you know, that's something that we would be happy to discuss as well, and to try to come in to an agreement or a plan to maybe make those a little bit more aesthetically pleasing as well. So, you know, we want to continue to be good neighbors with the city and work with you guys on our wells and our sites. And so that's certainly something that can be brought to the table and we can talk about.
Okay, because I talked to Daniel about it one time before, and it still hasn't been done.
I think if you guys can put together something and that maybe present to us as far as what you might have in mind, and then we can compare it against what our minimum requirements would be, and then see if it meets, or if we need to kind of come together and meet in the middle on something. You know, that's something that we'd be happy to entertain.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner Madrid will talk with Mark and Daniel regarding that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for that, Mr. Huerta. That's a more than reasonable response, and your willingness to work with us on that. Thank you very much.
Mayor, I have a question as well for Mark. Mark, the well last produced approximately 350 to 400 gallons a minute. Is that pretty current?
So we did fire the well up, actually Justin and I, just not too long ago, and it was at that time producing that same around 450 at the time. Of course, that would probably drop off after it ran for a little while, but the anticipation is that it would still be around that 350 to 400 gallon per minute range. And of course, that would be part of the well investigation work that we would do, would be to determine what the capacity of the well would be before entering into an agreement.
And I know we are going to spend the money to upgrade the well. You are responsible for anything as far as upkeep on that well after that?
That's correct, yes. So the portion that the city would be responsible for will be, again, called out within the lease agreement as far as the upgrade portions to the well itself. And then EPCOR has a portion that it, of course, funds, which is the overall improvements to the site, to include the fencing that we're talking about, all of the SCADA and telemetry stuff and radio that would be needed to tie it into our SCADA, as well as the cost of any line extension in order to get it from point A to point B. So the line that would go from the well to our system would be at our expense as well.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the water leasing agreement with EPCOR.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, but we have a question. Commissioner Casals, go ahead.
Well, I just have a comment, I guess. On the pond there, that well was filling that pond, right? But now we're using the reused water? Is
That's
that
correct. Yes, that's correct. Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner Casals, yes, the reuse is being used to water the park now.
And it is full?
The
The
pond? Yeah, it's filled up as needed
Okay.
to supply. So, yeah.
Okay.
The well in question was previously used to fill the
Right.
pond, which was used for irrigation, but that well has been resting since we've been using the reuse water on it. So now we would be, beginning to use a well previously used for irrigation now to be used for
Right.
human consumption, and something that would take a little bit of an investment to begin with. We make our money back in a couple of years, and then it's a revenue stream, and a 10-year agreement with EPCOR.
Thank you.
I second that.
Yeah, and I'll just say that, you guys currently have a couple lease agreements with us on some other wells, and again, I think it would be a great addition to the city as far as revenue stream, and it'd certainly be a great addition to our system and a supply for the city of Clovis.
Thanks for that, Mr. Wirtz. We have a motion for approval from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant and a second from Commissioner Madrid. Commissioners, please vote. Commissioner Garza, if we can have your vote, please.
That's a yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we have a 8-0 vote, and the motion is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Huerta. Appreciate it. The second item under new business this evening is request for approval to apply for and accept 2021 Economic Development Department Outdoor Equity Fund grant funding in the amount of $20,000 to create a 2022 summer outdoor recreation program for youth. Ms. Burrows.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. We're excited about this. So many years ago, 10 probably now, the Sisler, Joe and Charlie and Sisler Foundation gave the city about $600,000, and we spent about $450,000, I think, was it, Leanne, something like that, on the YRB, the renovations to the youth recreation building. And since that time, and the provision was for it to be used for youth programming. We haven't been able to get that done yet, but we've found a grant through the Economic Development Department that we could apply for, and so we would like a permission to do so, to have a summer youth program. It won't be this year because we won't know if we get the grants until August, and of course by that point the summer programs will be pretty much over. So it would be for next year. We would like to apply for $20,000 to do this. We have to focus on environmental aspects for education as part of that, and so we stand for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that, Ms. Burrows. I'm in favor and all for youth programs. Out of curiosity, what types of programs? You said they have to focus on environmental type things?
We have the idea that it would be, Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. We have the idea that it would be about an 8-week program for June and July, and each week would focus on a different topic. So one could be water, one could be earth, where you could have a community garden of sorts, but every week would focus on a different. And the grant has to have a focus on outdoor recreation, so it would be trying to get youth outdoors as much as possible.
Great, thank you for that. Sounds wonderful.
Yes, and being in Hillcrest Park where you have access to the zoo and of course they have the summer food program, breakfast and lunch are served there at the YRB and the canopy there. It just seems ideal, and they'll have the wellness center and the splash park and everything right there within walking distance, so we can help educate them with water programs. We bring, Orlando Ortega in and to talk about, water, and EPCOR with the programs that they have to conserve water, and then the gardening piece, and just lots of different earth, wind, talk about wind energy, and get Chase come and talk about wind energy, and just also, we have a whole plan for every week already, so.
Sounds fantastic. Any questions?
Mayor, if I may make a comment?
Yes.
I'm ecstatic about this. This is something that's very close to my heart. So I want to thank Claire and Kelsey for finding this grant and applying for it. And I think that after everything our children have had to endure over the last 14 months, that we are going to have to, as adults, help them with their social and emotional and educational needs that are behind. And I wish this could happen this summer. I understand that that's coming up next week, actually. But I think this is going to be an issue that our children are going to face in the future. And so anything to help them with those aspects of their life, I'm thrilled. And I'm thrilled that the city's taken an initiative on this. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Paula. And we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Casals.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Rowley. Commissioners, please vote. Commissioner Garza, may we have your vote, please?
Yes, that's a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the vote is unanimous, and the motion is carried. Thank you again, Ms. Burrows, Ms. Knight, for that item. We appreciate it. Next is reports of boards, officers, and committees. A couple of planned reports there tonight, and probably a couple of surprise reports. The first is a CIDC update from Mr. Chase Gentry. I see Mr. Gentry making his way to the podium. Welcome. Thank you for being here this evening. The floor is yours.
The best for last. No, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners, I have Rachel Forrester. She's our Public Relations and Marketing Manager on Zoom, and also Andrea Corpening. She's working with us on the Clovis Remote program, and I'm going to defer to them for a minute, and then I'll wrap it up after Rachel gets done.
Great. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us virtually. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you cannot see it. Tab. Okay. All right, you should be seeing my report. Can you all see it?
Yes, we're almost there, it looks like.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Wonderful. And it is, okay, perfect. So if something happens, just let me know. So I'm going to be going over a number of initiatives that CIDC has been working on. And the first one is our True Gig initiative. So I apologize if this is repetitive for some of you, but I know this might be new information. So I'm going to go through quite a bit of detail, but I'll do it as concisely as possible. So Clovis Economic Development, in partnership with the Chamber and Plateau, have a really exciting initiative going on. We are trying to promote Eastern New Mexico as an ideal place for businesses and people who are looking for a comfortable rural way of life, but also with endless possibilities, in this case as it relates to connectivity and gigabit internet. So Eastern New Mexico is unique in the sense that our area offers a safe environment, an affordable cost of living, and gigabit internet offered at some of the lowest pricing in the nation. And so this is obviously required for certain tech companies or businesses that require those types of tech capabilities. So we have been partnering with Plateau to spread the word, and they have also been doing a ton for this initiative, which we were actually named Clovis was named a Smart Rural Community last year by the Rural Broadband Association. This program celebrates the commitment of broadband providers like Plateau and community members that are working to drive growth and create opportunities. So one of the ways that we are working to bring people to this area, obviously it's great that we have gigabit internet, but we also want to be able to improve the perception of Clovis and let them know why Clovis can offer the life that they desire. So we have started a number of projects that are doing just that, trying to promote a bunch of different aspects of life in Clovis. So one of the first things that we have released recently was the first of a number of promotional videos. That this first one is just offering a broad glimpse into how this growing city in eastern New Mexico can provide the quality of life and desirable community along with that technology that we were mentioning. So do we have enough time for me to play that video quickly? It's about 1.5 minutes long.
Yes, we do.
Perfect. I figured out how to do it this time, so I will play that right now.
The volume is important.
Yes, exactly. You're going to want to hear the narrator.
If you are looking for a sense of belonging and a thriving city for your career or business, look no further than Clovis, New Mexico. The community you desire, the technology you deserve. Situated on the plains of eastern New Mexico and home to Cannon Air Force Base, our growing city is perfectly positioned among New Mexico and Texas hubs, including Albuquerque, Lubbock, and Amarillo. Whether you're starting a business, relocating, or looking to expand, Clovis can provide a comfortable way of life with open skies and endless possibilities. Our economic environment is backed by a powerful fiber network spanning most of the city. And we currently have a state-of-the-art 35,000 square foot data center and industrial parks with 230 acres of land available for development. In Clovis, we're not trying to become the next Silicon Valley. Instead, we're trying to find our own place in the innovation economy by welcoming a thriving technological community that embraces our small-town feel. Life in Clovis means a safe, laid-back atmosphere, an affordable cost of living, and even more affordable, high-speed internet for everyone. Recently, new shops, restaurants, and breweries have brought new life to Clovis, alongside our beloved antique shops and historic theaters. We are home to the second largest zoo in the state, and our rich rock and roll history, museums, and a variety of fun, family-friendly events each year attract people from all over the world. In Clovis, we go the extra mile for our community members, and we welcome with open arms anyone seeking a change of pace or home for their next business venture. Come see for yourself why Clovis is the community you desire with the technology you deserve.
That was good. Good. I recognize the voice.
Really good video.
So huge shout out to Janine Fajardo. He gathered a lot of the footage for that video, and obviously to Mayor Morris for the narration. Thank you very much. So that is.
You're welcome, and I hope, I was going to say, I hope you didn't pay that voiceover guy very much. And you didn't. So you did
a great job. We're hoping probably for the next, like I was saying, this is the first in a number of videos we're doing for this series, and so we might be requesting your assistance again in the future. But so just to explain a little bit more about that, this was obviously a glimpse into the community as a whole. So we have about 6 other videos in the works that are going to delve deeper into different aspects of life in Clovis. So whether that's education in the community, or all the fun attractions and things to do, or some of the new downtown life that it's popping up, things like that. So we're really excited about those. Let me share this again. Okay, So in addition to those videos, some of the other things that we have released as part of that Life in Clovis project is a new Facebook page. So we are using that to put out a bunch of information, helpful information with a lot of the remote resources that I'm about to explain as well. We're working on a web page that will be kind of a splash page for if people are watching this video or on that Facebook page, they'll be directed to a web page that'll say, hey, let me give you all this information, like a relocation guide or info about how to get fiber internet in our area, or if you're a business, information about the industrial park or the data center, all of that. So we also recently, we were included this month in the Eastern New Mexico University Alumni Magazine. They put out an article about this initiative, and it so far has been apparently spreading like wildfire. The alumni that were featured in it, Ernie and Daniel Brashear from Plateau, have been getting contacted by their college friends, letting them know that they are excited about the initiative, and it makes them want to come back to Clovis. So good things are happening there. And then as well as we also have it in the Clovis community profile that we give out to everyone at the chamber and that gets distributed widely as well. So in addition to trying to get people here just for Life in Clovis, we are wanting to be able to support them with the remote work lifestyle as well. So we have a number of projects for businesses and then also for individuals. So we have been partnering with Andrea Corpening, who is also on this call. She runs Elite Business Performance, and she's a career strategist and workforce development professional. We've been working with her and the city of Clovis to offer a number of webinars, virtual networking events for remote workers in the area. We had our first virtual co-working session and virtual coffee chat to kind of be a sense of community for people who are working remotely in the area. And then eventually we plan to have a rigorous job fair that Andre will be able to go into a little bit more detail about in a while. But for businesses specifically, we have our first webinar coming up. That's our Hiring Remote Workers webinar that's next week on Tuesday, on May 25th. And so we are hoping to be able to have our panelists of experts kind of give some tips and tricks on, which types of jobs can be done remotely, how can you manage a remote team, or where to find trustworthy remote workers, information like that that can be helpful, since obviously the future of business is hybrid. So we want to make sure that our local businesses have access to the training and resources that they need to be successful in that environment. And then obviously, if you haven't already heard, we also have a business that has popped up in town that will also be a wonderful resource for people working remotely or in a hybrid environment, and that's the Firehouse Workspace that popped up downtown, and that's also building a sense of community for remote workers. So for individuals, we have realized that remote working can also be a challenge, and in fact, most people prefer a balance of hybrid working with the option to telework. And for people that aren't already in the industry, it can be challenging and very competitive these days to get in. So we have just started a program that we are calling Clovis Remote. It is designed to, let me backtrack. It's a program developed by Clovis Economic Development and Andrea Corpening with Elite Business Performance in partnership with the city. And it's designed to provide training and job assistance to people who are wanting to get into that industry, like I explained. So it will offer preparation and remote work certification, interview training, resume assistance, and then eventually placement assistance with remote jobs through our virtual job fairs and employer outreach initiatives. So ultimately, we are hoping to provide the training and support to help all of these individuals be successful in the remote environment and competitive against those other applicants. Last week, this past Friday, we announced the preliminary launch of this program. And initially, we're just doing a pilot program with Canon spouses, but we plan to open that up to the entire community in the next few months. We have already been working with Canon Air Force Base and the Airman Family Readiness Center. And they have obviously expressed a great need for this type of assistance. And even within a few hours, I think it was one day of announcing the launch of this, we already have 13 people signed up for it. So we're excited to see that take off. And as far as after all of the training, after they go through all of the training for that program, part of that job assistance and job placement assistance will be through a job fair that we're hoping to have. So, Andre, have I missed anything that you want to cover for the job fair or any of those other resources?
So we did have, as you mentioned, the 13 people register. So we're going to be funneling them through the training and reaching out to companies to join the virtual career fair. And so I think you captured everything perfectly.
Awesome. Thank you. We're excited to see how it goes and to hopefully help get these people some jobs that they're wanting. So ultimately, our hope is that the program will help put Clovis on the map as a location with top remote talent and great fiber internet. So that is all I have for the True Gig initiative. Does anyone have any questions before I move to our next project?
Let me check for questions. No questions.
Okay. So moving right along then, Economic Development Week was last week. We joined nations across the country, or joined nations, organizations across the country to celebrate. This is a celebration that was started 6 years ago by the National Economic Development Council, which is the largest economic development professional membership organization for economic development, and we are a member of it, as CIDC is. We want to thank Mayor Morris and the city for releasing the proclamation to make it official. And so all last week, we shared emails, we had radio announcements, newspaper ads, social media posts, and a bunch of information going out in an effort to educate people about economic development and the positive contribution to our business climate, our job retention and growth, and ultimately the overall quality of life in Clovis. It was fitting that the Economic Development Week was happening last week when we were also holding the urgent hiring job fair that you guys heard about earlier. Obviously, a thriving economy can't exist without a strong workforce. So CIDC, in partnership with EPCOG, the New Mexico Workforce Connection, City of Clovis, and the Chamber, we did a number of promotions for that. And as you guys heard, it was an amazing turnout with more than 400 job seekers and nearly 50 local businesses were there. And we've heard a lot of positive feedback about positions that have been filled as a result of it. So this was the first year that CIDC celebrated Economic Development Week, and we're hoping to go even bigger next year. And I should mention that a lot of these communications are in addition to the regular business recovery updates that the Chamber and CIDC send out 3 times a week. So we have been helping spread the word with all of the financial assistance and programs that are available for business recovery since we started those back in March of 2020 when the pandemic started. So we've been working really hard to try to make sure everyone's getting the information available since it is changing so frequently. Does anyone have any questions about Economic Development Week before I move on to the next thing?
No, Ms. Forrester, we are tracking and no questions right now.
Perfect. This one will be the last project I have to share about, and it is our community branding initiative. CIDC first embarked on this branding journey with Once a Day Marketing back in January 2019, I believe. So Once a Day Marketing is a Santa Fe consultancy that CIDC hired to develop a new comprehensive community brand for Clovis. And just to clarify the difference between, a business brand and a community brand, this isn't, CIDC trying to come up with a new brand for themselves. It's the whole community. We want to really create a brand that all businesses, community members, organizations, everyone involved can get behind and say and feel that that's what represents Clovis well. So to start the project, CIDC invested around $30,000, which covered the first phase, and that included Once a Day Marketing's extensive research project into the community and then developing a new brand promise. So that research phase, specifically, Once a Day Marketing held, I think, close to 50 one-on-one stakeholder interviews and facilitated 6 focus groups that had a total of 58 attendees. The survey that was released was meant to identify what Once a Day Marketing calls the reputation perception gaps in order to determine the strategies that we could pursue to align our desired identity with public image. So we received close to 1,000 responses, which is well above the amount that they normally get from a community. And during that time, we also formed what we're calling the Clovis Brand Action Team, and that's a group of around 40 representatives from diverse groups of businesses and organizations throughout the community. And once we had all those survey results, One City Marketing assisted that action team with creating a brand promise and a new community brand slogan. So we announced that to the public this past January, and that new brand slogan is what you see on the screen here, the Heartfelt Connections, Endless Horizons. And that's meant to capture the heart and the welcoming nature of Clovis, along with our open skies and endless possibilities. So the connections portion of it also ties back into that gig internet capability, as well as our tight-knit nature in town and of the people here, you know, always willing to lend a hand or get you connected with the person or the business that could help with whatever situation you find yourself in. So since the project has turned into a partnership between CIDC, the Chamber, and the city, and we're currently working with One City Marketing on that second phase, which is brand integration. We needed to find a graphic designer to turn this slogan into a visually appealing logo and some graphic design aspects. So we released an RFP back in February, and we selected Leighton Moon, who have a ton of experience working with other communities on similar projects. They helped Raton, Tucumcari, and others design the logos and designs for their community brands. So we are in great hands, and so far it has been a breeze to work with them. They're wonderful. And in addition to those visuals that they're developing, One City Marketing has been creating all of the communication tools and the marketing plan needed to launch, promote, and sustain the new brand. So there are a number of exciting projects that we plan to announce in the next couple of months, and we're very, very close to hopefully announcing the new logo and design that Leighton Moon has come up with. So we overall look forward to being on the same playing field as other communities with strong identities, and we'll be in touch as things pan out for that. Obviously, this is a huge project, and it's going to take, we have that Clovis action team, but it's going to take the entire community getting behind it to deliver on that brand promise. So I appreciate all of your time and hope that you all and as many local businesses and residents will get on board to make this successful. So I will turn it back to Chase or answer any questions anyone has about this presentation.
No questions, Ms. Forrester, but thank you very much, and as well as thank you to you, Ms. Copening.
Thank you very much, Mayor Morris.
Can we go to the next slide?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Andrea. I just want to briefly go over some of the projects that we've had. We've been very busy over the last 6 months or so. A lot of activity going on, even though COVID and all the restrictions, we're seeing that across the state. This is just a brief overview of the type of projects that we're seeing. We have a warehouse and distribution project that's looking at Clovis. We've entered into a land purchase agreement with that project. They're working on finalizing their building design and their site layout, and we're actually working with David Petty. Most of you know David. He's going to be their local contractor for the project. We have 2 renewable bioenergy projects that we are working with. We have a solar manufacturing project that's a startup that's looking at Clovis, has identified a site in Clovis, a wind project in the Grady area, a couple of solar projects, 2 community solar projects. If you know, the governor signed a new Community Solar Act during the session, right after the session, and we've had 2 prospects that are looking at Clovis. We have a beverage manufacturing company. That was a state PRO project, a recruitment project from the New Mexico Partnership. We submitted a response on behalf of the city and the area for that, and we have a big project we've been working on. It's a production facility looking at the industrial park that is interested in Clovis. And if you can go to the next slide. We're also seeing through the mayor's efforts with Senate Bill 49, there's been a lot of media on retail projects. So we're starting to see questions and projects that are coming along for that, to look at that incentive or potentially look at coming to Clovis or expanding in Clovis. We're excited about that and look forward to a time when we can get that approved and all the policies updated so that we can help some of the local businesses and help with the growth in the community. Just real quick, I put this in there. During COVID, the New Mexico Partnership obviously wasn't able to travel and do a lot of trade shows, but they did put together a lot of site consultant visits that we did virtually. So there was 15 or 20 of us that do economic development around the state, getting in with consultants around the country, and then splitting us out into rooms with 3 or 4 of us at a time to talk about our communities. And that seemed to bring a lot of interest and a lot of opportunity to them for them to get to know us, even though we couldn't be in their offices or an event. So that's been a really good deal. We obviously continue to respond to the state recruitment opportunities, and we're actually, I think the exciting thing is we're starting to see a lot of the trade shows and activities opening up where that we can get back in person. And I think you're going to see that mostly probably in the 3rd and 4th quarter of the year, but we're starting to get emails and starting to see those things happening. So that's exciting after, being home for a year and a half, and be able to get together again. Even this is exciting to be back in this room. So that's a real quick overview on what's going on. It's been a lot of detail. I don't know, when we respond to those PROs or we get with a company, a lot of it's those getting the square peg in the round hole and making sure that you can meet the needs and meet their basic requirements. So we seem to fit in a lot of those. I'm not saying that we'll get every one of these, but we're doing our best to, put it forward and make sure that we do. So with that, I would stand for any questions you might have.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gentry, and it's always exciting to hear about the prospects you're working with. So thanks for updating us on that, and I'm with you. It is exciting to think about, getting out and doing trade shows and doing the conferences and things like that. So thanks for reporting on that, Commissioner.
I just have a comment. The pandemic did not slow you guys down. You have been very busy. Rachel and Andrea, thank you. You guys have done an amazing job.
Yeah,
I like the video. I want an autograph from the mayor.
We're lucky to have them on board and their talent, and they make my life a lot easier and Ernie's too. So thank you guys.
They've worked hard.
Yeah, very good. Any questions or comments for Mr. Gentry?
Good job, Chase.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the update. Thanks. All right, next under reports, Ms. Melanson with the monthly investment report.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. April, we started the month with 46.7 million, ended at 47.4 million. Brief overview of some of our cash balances. General Fund 1, 5.2 million. Solid Waste Fund 2, 2.2 million. Our Environmental Tax Fund 6, 8 million. Wastewater Fund 10, 4.3 million. Economic Development Gross Receipts Fund 64, 3.2 million. Our Water Quarter Percent Fund 66, 4.8 million. Special Streets Fund 75, $1 million. And our Drainage Improvements Fund 88, 1.1 million. Our cash in bank is at 24.1 million. Our state investment pool is at 23.2 million. Our interest for the month was $4,200. Our 10-month interest is almost 76,000. Our state pool dropped again to 0.0771%. And Finance Committee continues to review and look at options there that we hope to be bringing forward in the next few months. And then I did receive the gross receipts report, and I am happy to report that Clovis appears to be rebounding from the pandemic. We are up 17.61% from this time last year. In comparison, we are up 10% from 2 years ago. So I think we've had a strong recovery this month. We are still down actual about 10%, but budget, we are now at a little over 9% above our budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report, Ms. Melanson, and I'm excited to hear that the data is reflecting that Clovis is rebounding. Thank you for that. Any questions or comments?
Good job.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that, Ms. Melanson. Did we get a photo collage? Okay, so Commissioners, I wanted to report to you on my trip representing the city of Clovis at the National Security Forum last week at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama. This was actually my first trip since becoming mayor and since COVID and all of that. So I had a really great time. It may be just because I got out of town, but no, it was truly an amazing experience being at the National Security Forum. I just wanted to briefly report, and I asked Kelsey to put some snapshots that I took up while I share with you on this for just a few minutes. But I want to let you know it's a week-long ordeal. It's really 3 days. It was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week, and I stayed on Maxwell Air Force Base. It was early mornings, late nights, and lectures, and then breakout sessions, and they worked me hard. But I wanted to share just some of the folks that I heard from, or that the 74 other guests and I heard from. John Roth, the acting secretary of the Air Force and Space Force, and I have a photo of him interacting with one of the War College students. Dr. Chris Hemmer, he is the Air War College Dean of Academics, and he gave a lecture that was amazing on national security. He broke down the Biden interim national security strategy and compared it and contrasted it with the last 5 presidents' national security strategies, and it was amazing. We heard from multiple professors at the War College, and that gave lectures providing historical context for what is referred to as the Great Power Competition, and that's what our nation is in, and that is a great power competition. I'll share a little bit more about that in just a moment. General Rawls, Michael Rawls, is the commandant at the Air War College. A really impressive gentleman, and I had the chance to visit with him casually in between sessions and after at some of the events, and quite a guy. General John Raymond, this one is really kind of neat. General John Raymond, who is Chief of Space Force, joined our, and he was actually in the previous, I'm sorry, but middle on the bottom there. He joined us virtually, not from space, but from the Pentagon, and reported on Space Force. Absolutely fascinating. And then heard from a lot of other people. But I wanted to let you know that General Charles Brown, who's the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, also was there and gave a lecture. General Brown, Chief of Staff of the Air Force. John Roth, Acting Secretary of the Air Force and Space Force. I would expect these gentlemen to come in, deliver their remarks, thank you, and leave. They presented what they had to present and then took questions from the floor from 74 community leaders from around the country, and it was just really impressive seeing the caliber of folks that make up our United States military is amazing. A little bit about the format. I told you it was early to late, but there were 74 guests like myself there, and we were each assigned an escort. So the Air War College students were at the end. In fact, they graduated today, but they were at the end of their 10-month program. It's a master's level program, and these are the best of the best of the Air Force that go, and they go through the Air War College, and then, you know, they're colonels, but these are the guys that are going to be commanding squadrons or wing commanders and those kinds of things. Incredible. My escort was Colonel Mike Edmonston, and he was actually stationed here at Cannon back in '09, and so he knew Clovis, and we chatted about that and caught up. But you know, we attended the lectures together. We did breakout smaller group seminars where there was discussion, and in the room you had, you know, students of the War College, instructors from the War College, and then somebody like me, you know, and we discussed national security, and we discussed, you know, we processed some of the lectures that we had just heard, and it was incredibly. It was just a great privilege to share space and share conversation with these amazing folks that are doing the work of our nation's defense. So a little bit about what I learned and what I heard. The United States is in a great power competition, and the major competitors are China and Russia. The national security strategy identifies China, and then kind of a distant second, Russia, and then everyone else. The attention is on on China and Russia. There's a bit of a recognition on the part of everyone that there is a need to speed up advancement in order to stay ahead. You know, to stay ahead of the battle and this power competition. Secretary Roth talked about the whole of government approach and that we need to fund our military. Because flat budgets force decision makers to have to make priority decisions, and so, you know, we need to fund our military. This great power competition. While, you know, I'm talking to these guys that are in you know, they're completing War College. They've had a career of, you know, serving in the military and all that involves, going and fighting and doing that business, but they're talking about how they're having to shift their thinking from, you know, this isn't necessarily a fight that we go fight in. This is a fight that's happening in cyberspace and through economics. It's a battle of economics and technology and so forth, and that technology piece is really where Space Force comes in. The message was that the United States needs a military force that deters our competitors, and that war is being waged through tech and economic policies. Something that was impressing that I really took away was, number one, our national security strategy. I told you that the dean of the college broke down the national security strategy and then compared and contrasted it with the previous 5 presidents' strategies. Our national security strategy does not do a 180 like you might think when we elect a president, you know, that is of a different party, or, you know, those kinds of things. Our national security strategy is based upon the issues, and therefore it's nonpartisan. And so that's the other thing that was really impressing. After talking with all of these folks, hearing all of these lectures, you did not catch, oh, well, this is what the Republicans think or want, or this is what the Democrats think or want. These issues are not partisan. These are national security issues. And they weren't withholding their political views because it would be inappropriate to share them. Their political views didn't belong in the room. And I thought that was really impressive. And we need more of that. We need more of talking about the issues that our country is facing and working together to deal with those issues, and not so much of the partisanship. And it's neat to see that the folks that are doing that work aren't caught up in and bogged down in that partisanship baloney. So what I heard what this means for Clovis. So I'll just say this. I feel like a better American after having been there last week. Understanding the world a whole lot better, understanding our nation's defense a whole lot better, and I think it better prepares me to be a leader. It better prepares me to be our representative with our base right here at Cannon Air Force Base. So what does that mean for us? What I really heard, and I literally heard this from General Brown, from Secretary Roth, and from others, But what I heard is that we need to support, our military needs our support. And we say that all the time, you know, and this community has worked on so many things over the years and continues to do so. Obviously, we do a lot to support Cannon Air Force Base, but we need to keep looking for ways to show our support. I'll quote General Brown. He said, here's what you can do for me. Take care of my airmen and take care of their families.
Absolutely.
Schools, spousal employment, mental and physical health of the airmen and their families, and quality of life. So, you know, these are things that we knew before, but I guess I learned them firsthand and heard it, you know, firsthand from the folks that really want it from us. And so that informs a lot of how I look at Cannon as mayor now, and how I look at our military. General Rawls said something funny to me in a down moment. He says, "So have we scared you?" And I said, "Yes, sir," because I did the read-aheads. If you do the read-aheads, that was enough to scare you. And then about the first 3/4 of the first day of lectures and discussion was enough to scare you. He said, "Don't go." He said, "Don't go back to Clovis and build a bunker in your backyard." He said, "Don't worry." He said, we've got the competition intellectually outmatched, and while we're in a great power competition, and winning doesn't necessarily mean going and fighting, we're ready to go tonight. And since we're in mixed company, I'll just say we're ready to go tonight and take care of business, is what he said. And so I came home a whole lot more informed, a whole lot more secure in life as an American, but I also came home with an even greater appreciation for our military and what they're doing for us. Okay.
All those
that was
factors and everything at your house was your hunger.
right. So in the top there, you see a C-130. I told Mike Edmonston, Colonel Edmonston, because we were walking around on the flight line looking at planes, and he says, "Oh, you want to go look at the C-130?" I said, "Sure." I said, "I've seen them before, but at Cannon they have guns sticking out of the side of them," you know. So he thought that was funny. Do we have the video? Okay. Do we have sound in the video? Because it's the sound of freedom. Okay. Yeah. Let's see it. So that, obviously I shot that with this, but that's an F-22, and there was a picture or two of it in one of the two collages, but there it is, yeah, top left. F-22, we saw two of them. We visited with the pilots, and then when the ceiling allowed, they did a demonstration, and I shot a lot of really crummy video with my iPhone. I wouldn't do that to you, but that flyby was something else. The sound of freedom. The sound of freedom, and the F-22 is amazing. And this pilot from Shreveport, Louisiana, can really fly it. It was a treat. So I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to say thanks for allowing me to go and represent the city there. Colonel Masitis, wing commander, who's been recommended for Brigadier General, actually sponsored me on that trip, and so I was proud to go do that, thinking, as an investment in the relationship with Cannon, but it was so much more than that. So thanks for allowing me to report on that, and I'll forego the other report that I was going to do tonight, because I know we're running late. Do we have future agenda items to discuss?
Yes, we have the discussion regarding naming of a Mr. Thomas for the Hunter Education Centre. We have another grant that we're looking for with Pet Safe, the Barkfield Park. Contract renewals. Brian Jones will have the annual contract renewals on the next agenda, which also actually includes CIDCs. We met with Chase last week, and we're going to extend that for the second year. Keys to the city recognitions for past commissioners. We're going to have a reception on the 3rd of June at 4 o'clock for David Lansford, former commissioner, Sandra Taylor-Sawyer, and David Robinson, so former Mayor Hansford. So that's, I'd like to invite everybody to that as well.
Okay.
That's what I have so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I read next meetings, Mayor Pro Tem Bryant, not to put you on the spot, but given what we heard in public comment this evening, would you like to have the Public Works Committee meeting on Wednesday after all? I've put him on the spot.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Well, how about for the time, for the time being, I'm going to announce it, and we will go from there. And sorry to do that to you. I was thinking in real time there. Announcement of date, time, and place of city board and commission meetings. Public Works Advisory Committee, 8:30 a.m. Wednesday, May 26th, here in the North Annex. We have a special city commission meeting at 5:15 on Thursday, May 27th, here in the North Annex. City Hall will be closed on Memorial Day, May 31st. Civil Aviation Board will meet at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, June 1st. And I wanted to mention TSA grand opening Thursday, May 27th at 3 p.m. TSA we're told, will be up and operating June 1st.
They're having a couple of challenges today, but
Well,
we're aiming for it. Thank you.
okay, we're aiming for June 1st, having TSA up and going, but so we're going to have a grand opening ceremony on the 27th at 3 p.m. With that, commissioners, we are adjourned.